What's up, guys? Andre here. We just watched a trailer for Zelda. Thought we'd do a quick reaction before we get into the nitty-gritty of breaking it down. Let's start off with you, Ash. What did you think?
It's pretty overwhelming. I'm getting a Team Eco vibe from the visuals, actually. Just like the overall kind of vibe. It's just I'm getting a Team Eco feel to it. It's just kind of like a washed out, kind of a peaceful visual vibe to it. And all, like the animals, like the deer and the ducks. And I don't know. I'm definitely getting the Breath of the Wild subtitle. It seems to be kind of an untamed Hyrule almost. So, pretty excited.
It definitely seemed that way. It definitely seemed different than what we've normally seen from Zelda. And I have to say, I thought it looked freaking awesome. I was nervous watching that. It looked freaking. It's different than what we've seen before, and that's why I'm really excited to see how it's actually going to play on the show floor. Is there anything that stood out to you in particular, though, beyond the more naturalistic setting?
Just the size of the world. Obviously, Hyrule's a lot bigger this time, but also the maybe somewhat confirmation of voice acting, because we hear Link, wake up, and that's odd for a Zelda title just to hear that anyway. So I think we might be getting our early confirmation of some possible voice acting, maybe.
I think that's definitely a case, because that was the first thing we heard, or even, I was going to say seen or saw, but that was the first thing that happened in the trailer. Right. So I have a feeling that is hinting at something.
Yeah.
This world looks intense though. The game just looks beautiful. That is what's stood out to me as well. A very naturalistic setting that looks apart. Yeah. It looks, you saw the giant mountains in the world. There's all kinds of weird not weird creatures, I guess. So a lot of normal creatures and some weird ones.
And rock climbing. We saw some rock climbing, so we don't know if this means Link can climb every surface or if he'll eventually be able to, but man, we know he can climb, so that's big.
We saw him climbing quite a bit in that trailer, so I have a feeling it's going to be pretty open-ended. And then they also changed the sailcloth into what looked like a hang glider.
Right, I saw that, and the enemies kind of give me a Skyward Sword vibe too, at least when he's pushing the boulder on. It looks like bokoblins. They look like kind of the enemies from Skyward Sword, or the basic grunts, so which is kind of interesting. But Breath of the Wild, of course, also calls to mind the fact that the Wolf Link amiibo is compatible. So
that's a good point.
Just the subtitle kind of makes me think of Wolf Link, and the fact that even that amiibo is compatible. So I don't know, interesting.
That's interesting. I didn't think of it that way.
All right, Tom, give us your thoughts on Breath of the Wild.
Well, you guys said about the amazing nature scenes. I mean, it does really seem like the initial Legend of Zelda, sort of from 30 years ago, remade in a huge setting, what I would imagine it as.
Right.
So that's really impressive. But also going on, there seems to be a huge, deeper level of customization. We saw him wearing armor. Maybe it's just an upgrade, but maybe you get to choose it. He had a spear. That's a new attack. The enemies, like you said, the Bobacoons or whatever, they were about twice as big as Link, so those would be pretty threatening.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with the fact that Link is using a spear in the trailer. How many other weapons will he use? It's interesting to see him. We now know he loves using the bow in this, and the spear. What else?
Well, we saw him pushing boulders down a cliff to hit enemies below. We saw him hunting a boar and then cooking after. Maybe you can get health that way, sort of like Metal Gear. It seems to be a lot more variety in your actions and what you can do with the environment. Also, there seemed to be a magnet weapon where you could lift up stuff and drop it on enemies, or lift up different platforms. So that'd be maybe a magic part to it.
Right. I'm hoping that there will be kind of an increase in difficulty, or at least a feeling of survivability in this world, because Breath of the Wild, Link is cooking, he's hunting, so hopefully there will be this element of feeling like you're surviving, and it's just you're not always topped out on hearts,
Yeah, and just going around and hey, there's a horse, and just I don't know if it's Grand Theft Auto, you'd be jacking a car, but I don't want to say that about a horse.
You just did.
Oh no. Well, you could just ride any horse you want.
So, initial impressions of Breath of the Wild, jacking Epona, basically.
You heard it on case.
So I think that wraps up for our initial impressions of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think. So, anything else you want to say?
Just truly impressive. It gives you the chills kind of watching that initial trailer. So
yeah, I definitely got some goosebumps, and it's weird to now finally have some, an official trailer. We know what it's called, and we don't have to call it Zelda Wii U and NX anymore. So I think that about wraps up for our impressions. So stay tuned to Game Explained for more on Zelda Breath of the Wild and basically Pokemon Sun and Moon and everything E3 throughout the week. Thanks, guys.